Hello, my name is Fahad Al-Attiya. I'm the Managing Director of Caravane Earth Foundation. Today we are presenting the program of the Majlis, a meeting place. Caravane Earth is a foundation with a mission to seed, practice and promote ethical entrepreneurship and well-being through art, craft, architecture, agriculture and education. We work to make a positive impact on social, cultural and ecological systems. The Majlis is our inaugural project, and it gives us the chance to present the Foundation's research program at the Venice Architectural Biennale. The main purpose of the Majlis is to illustrate the importance of intercultural dialogue and mutual education, to demonstrate the power of traditional knowledge and techniques in dealing with the majority of planetary issues of the present. The central architectural structure that we are currently building in Venice is the product of international collaboration between craftspeople from Colombia, Morocco, and Italy. It is a study on natural materials, on preserving and reconstructing traditional knowledge in different localities around the world. The bamboo we're using for the core of the structure was harvested, measured, prepared for transportation by farmers and carpenters from Manizales, the central region of Colombia. The textiles for the Majlis were made in Morocco from pure local wool and then woven together in different locations across the country. In Venice, these elements are being carefully assembled by local craftspeople through dialogue with the materials producers. The program is structured around these main elements: the architectural installation, an exhibition, a symposium, and a garden. Today, you will meet some of the members of the team behind the Majlis. An important part of our story is that, having traveled to Venice, Caravane's Majlis will continue its journey to Qatar in year 2022. In partnership with Qatar Museums, the Majlis will be installed in Doha during the World Cup tournament and will host a series of high-profile events. The Caravane's Majlis is not just an exhibition. While it showcases great architectural expertise and symbolizes the values of craftsmanship, tradition and community, all close to Caravane's values, the Majlis will also provide a spectacular platform for reflecting on our collective future on planet Earth. International experts from many different fields will share this platform to discuss how we will live together in a world of rapid change. Please subscribe to our social media and newsletter so that you can receive updates about the journey. I will now give the floor to Thierry Morel, the curator of the Majlis, speaking to us from Venice.
So the Majlis is an ancient term in Arabic and Persian that meant a council. In pre-Islamic Arabia, the term was coined to define a council, a tribal council, in which the members would take decisions for the best interest of the communities, the tribal communities. And then over the centuries, the role evolved and it became a place where guests would be received or entertained. So the Majlis was commissioned from the architectural duo Simón Vélez and Stefana Simić. Simón was a pioneer of architecture in bamboo. And here you see sort of a wonderful juxtaposition of crafts from Colombia, because we're talking about the bamboo structure, which was designed and created there, and then the cover of the Majlis, which is made of wool and which was woven in Morocco and assembled here. The Majlis needed to be placed in a beautiful setting, and a garden preferably. So when I came here, I was absolutely seduced by the island of San Giorgio and the garden, the monastic garden of the Benedictine monks, who have been here since the 11th century. And they had a wonderful little potager, vegetable gardens. But the rest of it was rather sad and just grass. So I thought, well, we need someone who could really revive it and turn it into a powerful and beautiful setting for the Majlis. And I thought of Todd Longstaffe-Gowan, who has worked on many fascinating projects and who also has a sense of history and of building gardens within architectural and historical settings. Although the Majlis is a reality for many nomadic people across the world, from the Maghreb to Eastern Asia. The name and I suppose the meaning of the Majlis is unfamiliar to many. So I felt it was very important to explain the role of the Majlis and what happens there through an exhibition, borrowing artifacts from many cultures and of course many museums. The San Rocco Mameluke carpet is one of the most precious rugs in the world and also one of the centerpieces of the exhibition. It has been in Venice for the past 500 years and was bought from Cairo to be placed in front of Tintoretto's crucifixion. So it's an extraordinary privilege to have this carpet here, and in a way it symbolizes all the efforts that have been put together to bring this exhibition and the Majlis and the garden together here and to create really a meeting place. This exhibition as a whole is a homage to craftsmanship in all its forms. It's the most I would say, in the simplest form to the most refined forms. But all come from the same practices, from the same traditions. The exhibition will also include some footage that we took over the past 2 years in the places where the components of the Majlis were sourced. So that includes footage from Colombia, where Simón Vélez and Stefana Simić live, and Morocco, where all the covering and the woolen textiles were produced and sourced. So this will be an important feature in the exhibition, highlighting really the conjunction of talents and crafts that were in operation to create this magical structure. The COVID pandemic has made this project very challenging, but it has also brought a lot of people together who initially were not going to take part in this. So it's been a source of blessings as well. And I really believe that the theme of the exhibition, how will we live together, has never been more poignant and more important than in this particular year. And my wish is that the Abbazia di San Giorgio of this garden, the Majlis exhibition and the Majlis itself will become a source of inspiration to the people who will gather and meet here.
My name is Stefana, and I am an architect and working in partnership with Simón Vélez. Our formal business name is Gigagras, and we're based in Bogota, Colombia. Bamboo has an obvious advantage in terms of sustainability, but I think, actually for me, the most motivational aspect of bamboo is the relation with the craftsman. There's no way to really standardize bamboo. I mean, you can reach a certain point, but you can't eliminate the craftsman from any process of the bamboo, from the bamboo architecture production. They're such skilled workers. They're such hard-working workers. It's not easy to cut bamboo from a forest. It's not easy to process it in a way that's viable for architecture, and people don't really think about that, including me. When I started dealing with bamboo, I really didn't appreciate them. I mean, I loved the bamboo as a concept in architecture, but only when you see them in a forest, you see how much power you need, how much skill you need to actually to work with such a material. Caravane, I really think the essence of it is about human relationships and community. I think it's addressing that above everything else, because there is a real trouble now of connection between humans, and I think that's the essence of it. in any way, in every possible way. Even from the architecture standpoint, we're working on prefabricated buildings. We're working in a different way with bamboo, which makes actually bamboo more accessible to the world as well. So I think it's all about sharing and communicating, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. My name is Simón Vélez. I am an architect, and I am not a bamboo architect. I also work with bamboo, and that is a big difference because I love many other materials. I belong to the biodiversity of this country, so it means I have to work with many materials. My religion don't allow me to work with plastics, but concrete, steel, glass, it's okay for me. Well, what we are doing for Caravane is very interesting because we are not building cathedrals or stadiums or airports. Those things that is a nomadic project, it really has human scale because it's humble. It's not huge buildings. Everything has a small scale and it has to be thinking as an utilitarian building. But the beauty comes from the concept of textile architecture. The planet is a single one, and the planet is populated by very different people. And more we are mixing constantly, and it's okay that mixing is happening. And to be part of a multicultural project, I like it because that is nature. And especially in the tropics, it's a lot of biodiversity. Well, caravan means mobility. So what we are doing is not to be in a city, it's not part of any city. It's something that exists in one moment and then disappears and appears in a very different place. And mobility is the concept behind the caravan world. And that is nomadism also. We are working in a nomadic project. I think the most important aspect of caravan is the cultural aspect. We are not making a village for tourism. We are not making a temporary structure for fun. What we are trying to make is a cultural thing that is a place for learning. For many people from many places of the world, from many different ages, to have a learning experience. The idea is to work in a concept that is textile architecture. We have never worked at that before. But we realized that bamboo, which is a very strong natural material, once it is cut in 1/4 or in half, it becomes a very flexible material, much more than when it is round. So everything you see here is straps of bamboo, laminated with bamboo. And we are inside a bamboo factory who produce the laminated material from bamboo. So our idea, because we are not archaeologists, we are not historians, is to make a new approach from our point of view on how to do textile architecture using basket weaving system. Very different from the tensor system, but it's also a tradition. And we are not inventing anything. That kind of thing has always been done when the humanity was nomadic, but we belong to that century, to that precise moment of the time. So this is our approach on how to do it in a modern way. We are using stainless steel because it's a high corrosion there. Well, it's also, we were thinking on brass, but brass is never as strong as stainless steel. And the welding that we have to do the welding in brass is much more difficult than the welding in stainless steel. And since 3,000 years or more, we belong to not to the Stone Age, to the Iron Age. And today we are still in the Iron Age. And the idea is not to use anything coming from the oil industry. So that will be covered with textiles, with fabrics coming from the animal hair. And also from cotton and from silk, but always using only natural materials.
نشوف دوك العيالات تا هما وعاو بان راه نشوف الحاله ديال هذوك الناس اللي خدموا معنا تحسنت شويه. كان المراه اللي جات ما تتعرفش وتتقول بغيت نخدم راه كنعلموها. دابا هاد العيالات اللي تيجيو معايا راني علمت فيهم شحال من وحده. كانت لي ما كانتش تنجد تقول لك بغيت ولكن رانا ما عرفتش شكون اللي غيسدي ليا وشكون اللي غادي يقول ليا وشكون اللي غادي يبدا ليا المنشج. تنسدي ليها ونبدا ليها ونمشي معاها لدارها ونهز معاها المنشج وعاد تنجي.
من القشره ديال الرمان وديال الكروش وهذه هي الصباغه الطبيعيه والحنه وهذا الشيء باش كانت تيتصبغ الوالده ديالنا ودوزتي وصافي. لا نديروها خاص يجونا فلوس بزاف حيت المحاين.
لا دابا تقريبا كاين الكميه اكثر من ديك الساعه لان دابا الرؤوس ديال الماشيه بصفه عامه راه كثيره. بكري في هذاك الوقت اللي عقلنا حنايا ما عندكش الجهد باش تمشي تشري جلابه من السوق. تنديرو فوق الخيمه تنثبتوها على البرد وعلى العجاج تنديرو حبل هنا تنشدوه في الارض ونشدوه من هنا في الارض وتيولي شاد الخيمه. نديروهم هادو جوج بحال هكا. كاين اللي تيدير جوج كاين اللي تيدير مثلا ربعه يدير هادو هنا وتيخرج. ولكن حنا عندنا عاده تنديرو هادو تنجيو تنبعدو شويه على الوسط وتنديروهم بحال هكا. هذا تيتسمى الحبل. هما كلهم يعني بالنسبه لي انا تنشوفهم هذا داخل علينا. هذا داخل على الصنعه التقليديه البرودوي والصباغه. ولكن تتبقى في الشغل تتبقى في الخدمه. العيالات بكري تيشدوا الصوف وتيديروها في واحد الربيعه تنقولوا لها حنا تيغشت وتيرطبوها ويغسلوها مزيان وينشفوها تيفكوها بشويه ويديروا لها القرشال وإلا فيها شي ربيعه ولا شي حاجه تيحيدوها. دابا راه الماكن دابا ما بقاش داك الشيء فيه.
الخدمه راه حب. لما كنتيش تبغي الحاجه ما غاديش تخدميها. العمل اللي كنتي تتحبيه راه غادي تكوني مخلصه فيه. اي حاجه راك عارف اي حاجه كنتي تتبغيها والا وتكوني مخلص فيها كيف ما كانت نجيج ولا اي حاجه. تنموت في الخدمه ديالي.
الا قسم الله باش نمشي راه غادي نمشي. وإلا مشيت مزيانه ليا بعدا غادي نعرف. حنا عندنا واحد الثقافه تنقولوا اللي شاف بزاف احسن من اللي عاش بزاف. هذه مزيانه ليا انا ما كرهتش نشوف. وثانيا انا بالنسبه ليا غادي يكون عندي واحد الشحنه ديال الفرح. غنكون فرحان واخا تكون هذه الخدمه صعيبه غنكون فرحان ليها. حيت انا غنمشي نشوف وغنشوف وجوه ويشوفوني وجوه وغادي يشوفوا الصنعه التقليديه ديال المغاربه.
Hello, I'm Todd Longstaffe-Gowan, landscape architect and landscape historian, based in London, but speaking to you from Venice. I'm standing at the foot of the tower of San Giorgio Maggiore in the island of San Giorgio, opposite the Doge's Palace at the centre of Venice. The tower itself behind me is one of the most conspicuous landmarks in the city, and I'm standing within the garden. This is the old monastic garden. The monastery has been here for just over 1,200 years. This garden until recently was very neglected, and it's been a pleasure to create the Majlis garden and project within this site because it was so awfully neglected. It was almost a car park. So we've lifted all this up and created a garden, and it's not a temporary one as you might expect for most exhibitions, but a lasting, sustainable garden that will be a productive base for the monastery itself. The monastery is a living organism filled with monks who have been here for a very long time. They will come and take their fruit and veg from the garden itself. But it forms a fantastic setting for the Majlis because we're trying to create this idea of a wonderful place to live and to work and to meet, and the garden forms a fantastically beautiful and relaxing setting in which to do that. It furthermore promotes this idea of Venice as being the centre, the epicenter for many centuries in Middle Ages as well as the Renaissance for the exchange of plants from the Orient and from all over the world. Indeed, they first came to Venice before they were redistributed, and this made Venice quite a lot of money. But gardens now don't abound as they used to, so the opportunity to create a garden that commemorates this great idea is rather wonderful. And here we've decided to use aromatics and herbs and medicinal culinary things that would have been popular at the same time throughout that long period, that were introduced here and still have some commercial value within the lagoon itself. Well, we've made a garden here which is a productive garden, so most of the things in here can be either eaten or they're slightly ornamental, but the idea is to try and show a garden as it might have looked in the Middle Ages. It's a playful evocation. We don't have sufficient documentary evidence to tell us precisely what they look like, but I think everyone will know from looking at engravings that there is something that sort of reminds them of what they look like, such as we have these very deep furrows we plant on top of these troughs, and just so you see these wonderful lines of fruit and vegetables, and it just conjures this notion of a great productive garden. And we have also chickens. We have they were here before we got here. When we kept them, we've made a rather nicer pen for them and sort of a medieval style hen house, all out of bamboo, and they form a very lively accompaniment to our garden experience here in Venice. But some of the trees we planted here are very interesting. The most, I think, for me, the most astonishing is the jujube tree, which I was really unfamiliar with until I came to this part of the world, because we can't grow them at home. But it is a tree that was introduced from the Orient in the 14th century, the latest, and it became incredibly popular for its many qualities, medicinal, apothecary, culinary, and other. And it's cultivated in hedges and trees. And we have a few specimens here that are probably about 40 years old. We moved them into the garden themselves. But they were an extraordinary, commercially important plant introduced into Veneto, because in the Middle Ages and the early Renaissance, Venice was the epicenter of the plant exchange trade in Europe. So almost all these plants came through Venice and were redistributed and sold across Europe. Not only the plants themselves, but the fruits and things that came from them. But the jujube tree is a rather extraordinary example of this. And still to this day, it holds a special place in the Venetian calendar, because on the 8th of October, they celebrate in some parts of the Veneto the jujube feast day, which is when the fruit comes into, when it's ripened in October. And this commemorates, as it were, this great commercial, important plant that was part of the economic powerhouse that was part of the myth of Venice, that made Venice so magnificent, so rich and so powerful throughout the whole of the Middle Ages and Renaissance, right up to the end of the 18th century.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Cornwell, and I'm running the Majlis program of events at San Giorgio Maggiore throughout the Biennale. As you've heard from my colleagues previously, a Majlis is a meeting place, and we intend to put our new building to good use, welcoming visitors from far and wide to address the Biennale theme for 2021, How Will We Live Together? We intend to address this question from the perspective of the mission of Caravane Earth, namely the promotion and preservation of traditional craftsmanship and vernacular architecture, the careful sourcing of materials, ethical production, the livelihoods and community of craftsmen and craftswomen, and holistic methods in agriculture. Our Majlis program includes standalone talks, roundtable discussions, films, and symposia which will convene larger groups of experts. Our program will unfold both offline and online between now and November, when we hope more people will be able to travel to Venice. For the opening of the exhibition, we're very fortunate to be joined by the Majlis architects Simón Vélez and Stefana Simić, who are travelling from Colombia to be with us. We're also joined by the landscape architect of the garden, Todd Longstaffe-Gowan. We're also delighted to announce the participation of Professor Abdelwahed El-Wakil, the foremost expert on Islamic architecture, and to be able to screen the premiere of an interview with Professor El-Wakil, which serves as a very interesting response to the Biennale theme. An event in October will see the culmination of an important collaboration between Caravane Earth and the Smithsonian Institution and INTBAU, the international network of traditional building, architecture and urbanism, which is part of the Prince's Foundation. This event gives us a great opportunity to explore in more depth some of the key areas of interest for Caravane Earth. How to preserve traditional crafts and ways of life, how to live in a changing climate, and how to live in cities of the future. In addition to talks and roundtables, the event will include film screenings, story circles and demonstrations of craftsmanship and construction skills. Confirmed speakers include Yasmin Lari, founder of the Heritage Foundation of Pakistan, best known for her work at the intersection of social justice and architecture. Jeremy Cross of the Prince's Foundation and Dr. Marjorie Hunt of the Smithsonian Institution. Other confirmed speakers at our events include Marwa Al-Sabuni, the Syrian architect and author of The Battle for Home and Building for Hope. Dr. Michael Ramage, director of Cambridge University's Centre for Natural Material Innovation. From Lebanon, representatives of Restart Beirut to talk about their work on the urgent restoration of buildings damaged by last year's catastrophic explosion. And to talk about the role of culture and museums in living together, we welcome museum directors Mikhail Piotrowski of the Russian State Hermitage Museum, Claudio Crevero, director of the Sheikh Faisal bin Qasim Al Thani Museum, and Professor Wayne Modest of the Dutch National Museum of World Cultures. We also look forward to welcoming curators from the National Museum of Qatar, with whom we're collaborating next year as the Majlis travels from Venice to Doha. We'll also be joined by our colleagues from Hinat Salma Farm, a Caravane Earth initiative dedicated to holistic methods in agriculture, architecture and community development. In collaboration with our honorary committee member Moulay Said, we will hold a Moroccan-themed event to celebrate the work and contribution of Moroccan craftsmen and craftswomen to our exhibition. All our talks and discussions will be published on this YouTube channel, so please subscribe and we look forward to seeing you either offline or online here in Venice.